Good morning from our beautiful farm in Central Portugal, and today it's all hands on deck. Hello Joaquim, tudo bem? And this is our neighbour Joaquim, and this is the first time that he's been on the farm in a couple of months with his tractor, and as you can see, he's tilling the fields. We've just reached autumn, and it's been a long, dry and hot summer, and the farm's kind of been resting for all of this time. Nothing's really been going on, and now it's time to get the fields ready for the grass growing season. We have had a lot of rain. Like, the summer was incredibly dry, major sort of drought conditions, and over the last 3 weeks or so it's been raining every single day pretty much, and the farm has been completely soaked. Today Joaquim is using a sort of disc plow. As you can see, it's got these large silver discs, and they don't really go that deep into the soil. I'll just show you over here. You know, a lot of people talk about plowing. This isn't really plowing. As you can see, it's only going into the ground. What's that? Maybe an inch, 2 inches. So it's just kind of breaking up the roots on the surface here, all of the grass roots and all the grass bundles. And then that basically gives him a chance to put some seeds into the ground and for those to germinate. So it's nothing too sort of intrusive, and it's actually quite important, because if you do just leave the fields like this, the grasses don't grow very well. And he needs those grass for his sheep, because he produces milk right here in Sowing in Central Portugal, and that milk goes into a really nice cheese.
You are my sun, you are my sunshine, you are my sun, red and white. You are my sun, you are my sunshine, you are my sun, red and white.
You can see just how compact the ground is from this boiling hot summer. No rain. I mean, now it's starting to soften up a little bit because of the rain, but the difference that this sort of disc harrow makes, I mean, you can see how it just breaks everything up, and this is going to make it much easier for the seeds to get into the ground, get covered up with a little bit of soil, and then start to grow nicely on these fields. We've got 3 main sort of big field grass growing areas on the farm. We've got this front section over here, which he's doing now, and then we have this section along here on this side of our farmhouse, another section along there on the other side, and then we have a really big field at the back there. And this front field is kind of our most unfertile field. The grass has never really grown particularly well there, but it is actually improving year on year. So we've been here for 4 years now, and in those 4 years Joaquim's been coming here, he's been doing this till, so he's been breaking up the soil, and then he's been planting all of the grass and everything. Now, in the summertime, what usually happens around this area is they do another till, and that's to stop grass from growing. But we haven't actually done that now for the last 2 years, and I've noticed a really big improvement in how much grass, how many flowers and things like that grow on this field. And I think for the first couple of years, what was happening was, you know, this gets broken up like this in the summertime. It's obviously exposed to the sun's UV rays, and when it hits like 40 degrees Celsius, I think 2 years ago it was 46 degrees, you can imagine it starts to kill all the microbes in the soil and kind of destroys it. So on the one hand, tilling can be quite bad for your soil. On the other hand, without tilling, without breaking up all of the root bundles, without sort of getting that back into the ground again, without being able to grow new seedlings and things like that, your fields don't do very well. So it's kind of a balancing act on sort of no dig, till, no till. I mean, I've definitely noticed that in the last 4 years that we've owned the farm, a mixture of it has definitely helped, especially on fields like this. So the relationship that me and Joaquim has is quite simple, really. He's doing the work on these fields because he gets the benefit of all of the grass that is grown in the springtime when he comes here, and he basically hay bales it all up, takes it across to his farm over there where he's got, I think he said, about 150 sheep at the moment, and this works out perfectly for both of us. I don't have to lift a finger looking after these fields, especially at this time of year, and Joaquim gets a whole bunch of hay bales to feed his sheep on his farm just in the background.
Deixo a grade aqui, meto trator para meter diesel e vou passar cordeiro.
Sim.
Depois de almoçar, 2 horas, Joaquim continua.
Okay, obrigado, 2 horas. So Joaquim's going to be coming back at 2 o'clock. He's just going to have lunch. He's got to put some diesel into the tractor, and yeah, he'll be back in a couple of hours' time. So what's happening at the moment, this is obviously stuck in there. So he's lifted it up. He's going to give it a little knock with a hammer. Oh, there we go. Now it's loose. Perfect. They make this stuff so tough. I mean, look how thick this steel is. It's crazy. But then again, this thing gets dragged with massive torque through the ground, and then these giant discs obviously break everything up. And you can see how these discs on this side are offset in this direction, the ones on this side are offset in this direction, and when he drags it through the soil, it's kind of it's obviously offset at two different angles, and then you get this nice cutting through the ground. But anyway, Joaquim will be back at 2 o'clock to do the rest of the fields. Alright, well, lunch is over and I see that Joaquim is back. So he's just doing this little bit over here. This is actually a very small section. Well, I call it small, but actually, you know, when I had a house back in the UK, this is like probably bigger than the entire bloody piece of land that we had. And the sun has come out. It actually feels really nice. It's still a very moody looking sky. So we have a couple of additions that we're going to be adding to the farm over the next couple of weeks. Well, hopefully over the next couple of weeks, because we're actually trying to find people to do one of the jobs. Our 3.5 hectare farm has got the sheep fencing, and I don't know, it's about sort of hip height, and as you can see, it's kind of held together with these wooden posts. They're about 2.5 to 3 meters apart. And this one over here is not too bad. It's quite firm if you hold it on the top, and it's not too bad on the bottom either. But as you can see, it can be lifted, especially when you go to like the middle sections. And the problem is our Serra da Estrela dog Eddie, he likes to lift that with his nose. So he gets his nose under there, lifts it, crawls under, and then goes running around all over the area, having a great time and upsetting all of the local farmers. So we've decided that what we're going to do is we're going to create another fence round about here that goes around the house section, and then we don't have to worry about that too much. I think if we have like 2 rows of fencing, it's going to be much easier to keep him in. Now, I have built a fence before, which is going around our sort of veggie area, but it's not quite good enough. This was my first attempt at building a fence ever. As you can see, I made these little corner posts. Had to put these pieces in the side here because these corner sections, they actually take a lot of strain because you've got to tension the wires and everything. And as you can see, I mean, I'm not much of a woodworker or anything like that. I'm a computer geek, so I don't really know what I'm doing. But yeah, as you can see like on this fence, it's not particularly straight, and it's also like a little bit on the loose side. Hello, geesey geese. Geese, geese. So we need something a little bit stronger than that. Obviously, we've got to keep a big Serra da Estrela, which is a big livestock guardian dog. We've got to keep him from running out. We need something a bit higher and a little bit beefier. So, at the moment, we're looking for someone who's going to help us with that. I see Joaquim's done this whole section now. Just as we were talking, this went really quickly. Look at this awesome Ford tractor. Oh, here we go. I'm going to get a chance to show you how he lifts it up. Is it all done? See, you can see while it's stopped here. Okay, he's not going to lift it up. Well, there we go, we're getting a new road. This will all flatten out anyway at some point, even if it doesn't look too good now. So anyway, as I was saying, we're going to get a fence built around here, and I'll show you how it's going to work. The idea is that we're going to start next to this fence line. So we've got this section here for the veggie patch, and well, it's not really the veggie patch anymore because we've got the geese staying in here and they eat absolutely everything. But yeah, so we're going to start from this corner, and it's going to come out. Let me just take you so I can show you exactly how far. So it's going to come out to roughly this spot over here, and in a straight line. And then if I turn in a straight line, it's going to go roughly to that spot over there, which is a bit hard to describe. So I'm going to walk you across there. But basically it's going to give us a nice area here, which could become like another little paddock area. Maybe that's where the geese can go so they don't eat our veggies. And it's also going to give us a little bit of a gap between the house, our agricultural water tank that we use as a dipping pool in summer. The fence line's going to go just to the side of this over here. This is actually an electrical connection point. I think at some point this was like a street lamp or something. Anyway, so the fence is going to go on the other side of that. And as you can see, it gives us probably about 4 meters 3.5, 4 meters there. And then it's going to go in a straight line there. I don't know if you can see now, but there's like a fig tree, and it's basically going to go towards where the fig tree is. Now we are going to lose a couple of our vines, but what we are going to gain is we're going to gain a little bit more garden area in front of the house. So some of these vines are all going to have to go. And I'm walking in a straight line now as the fence would go. So all of the vines on this side we're going to have to take out, unfortunately. But yeah. So from where we were in that corner over there, all the way out to about there, straight down, and then straight down in that direction, roughly to where that fig tree is. I'm just going to walk you down there quickly so you can see exactly what I mean. All right, so we're not going up to the fig tree, we're going to go up sort of in line with this row of vines here. And if I stand there and show you, it's quite a nice big space. So the dogs are still going to have a lot of space. And then it kind of goes, we're going to take all of these vines out. The fence is actually going to go a little bit further on this side. Obviously this all has to be cleaned and cleared. But you can actually see it much better now exactly where we're going to put it from the difference of where the grass of our garden is and where the grass of the field is. There's that nice sort of green line. And then it's going to run in a straight line all the way to that olive tree like over there. And let me just turn you around quickly and then you can see. So it's going to be a nice big area. And then let me go into the other corner where that olive tree is. So the doggies are they're going to have a nice big space. Obviously they're not going to be stuck in there permanently. This is kind of going to be like, we're going to have a barrier here, and then we obviously have 3.5 hectares that's also fenced, but that just gives us 2 layers of protection. And then yeah, from about this corner here, it actually goes in a little bit more. So this building over here is like our barn, and just on the side of the barn where you can see the white wall, it's going to come from the wall and it's going to come out here in a straight line, and it's going to give us a nice big garden area. We've contacted a fence company in Castelo Branco. They were going to do quite thick poles, not like sheep fencing poles, and then like a sheep fencing sort of wire, but it's galvanized, it's much higher. And sheep fencing is quite sort of malleable, like it's not particularly hard wire, whereas this stuff is quite hard wire. It's going to be difficult for Eddie to get his nose under there and lift it. And obviously it's a professional company doing it with like big machinery. They're going to bring like a digger in and dig a trench and bury the bottom of the wire and everything in. The problem with that is they wanted about 1,000 euros to do the labor, and I think the fencing materials came up to about 900. That's including all of the poles and also 2 big tractor gates. So in total it's about 100, I think it was 108 meters on Google Maps, 108 meters of fencing going around. At nearly 2,000 euros, that's nearly 20 bucks a meter, or 20 euros a meter. So pretty expensive, but you know, to be fair, the guy did actually say, listen, I don't want to do this job, it's going to be too expensive because we use big machinery and most of the money that you're paying is to get all of that machinery to your place. And if you were doing a much larger sort of fence line, it would end up being a lot cheaper. And the other thing which we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding air conditioning to our house finally after all of these years. We've done 4 years now in Central Portugal. We've had really, really hot summers, really cold winters, and it's finally time to bite the bullet. So yeah, we've already actually bought them. We're just waiting for the installation date now. And it's probably easier for me to show you from the back of the house exactly how that's all going to work. So if the geese can keep quiet for a second, I can explain it to you. Where you see these 4 windows, we're going to be getting the air conditioning units, so the head units that go inside. They're kind of going to be above the windows. These are our 4 main rooms. So we've got like the living area, we've got 2 bedrooms, and then we have the spare room just over here. The spare room's used as Gina's office. So these are called like, I don't know, like mini splits or split systems. So you get like a condenser unit that basically sits outside on the wall, and then you've got the interior unit. So most of the noise and everything is outside, which is pretty cool. Now the installer wanted to put the condenser unit or the outdoor air conditioning unit underneath the windows, and I was a bit concerned that it's going to make noise. Obviously we're on a farm, it's very quiet around here, so imagine at night time all you can hear is like this whirring sound of those motors. So I managed to convince him to put one of the boxes over here, so it's going to go just up on the wall. Obviously this whole area is going to be tidied up, but yeah, so we're going to have one unit over here, and that's going to feed 2 rooms. So it's going to do the living room and the bedroom, and they've been spec'd to size. And then the other 2 rooms are going to be done from another unit, which is going to be done from our outdoor kitchen area. And I've got a goose trying to bite me. Bite me, goose. Good goose. Is that tasty? As you can see, the geese are getting a lot more aggro, Especially this one. This is the boy. There you go, Goose. Now, Goosey Goose is all talk when he's got a fence between me and him, but when there's no fence, he's a little bit scared. Well, all I have to do is open up my arms as if I'm a big goose, and he runs away squawking. So he's not too bad. But obviously around his girlfriend, he has to act tough. Oh, you guys haven't seen the chickens in a while. Hello, chickies. Chickies. Oh, you're too clever to know that I don't have any food. The chickens are doing well. They're still free ranging and they're still happy. Rui the rooster is still around. And at the moment we've got six chickens in total. And if you've been watching for a few years, you'll know that we once had about, I think we had something like 28 chickens. And then, you know, because we liked them to free range, we were out. The dogs were locked up inside, unfortunately. And they got attacked and we lost almost all of them. So we still do allow them to free range, and we haven't had any more attacks, we haven't had any more problems, but we obviously have the dogs out a lot more. If we do go out now, we also put the chickens away, so we haven't had that issue. Oh, actually this is one I wanted to show you now, but she's not here. So these are some eggs that are being incubated by a hen. So we are going to try and see if we can get some more chicks. Oh, there she is. So I think she's probably come out just to get a little bit to eat. Do you want me to get you some food? Okay, give me a sec. Here you go, my girl. Come on. Wow, she's very nervous. But yeah, so she's obviously been sitting on those eggs for a while. She's absolutely starving. So there we go, free lunch. Now you may be wondering why I've been absent for a while. I've been putting out videos every single Sunday for the last 4 years, and I've missed a couple of weeks. I've had some bad luck. First of all was kidney stones, and I'm sure you know quite a few people get them, but I've never had them in my life before, and that was just the most ridiculous pain. If you look on Google, they actually talk about the pain being akin to like worse than childbirth even, apparently. And I'm sure that there's going to be female viewers out there who've had them and can probably attest to it. So it was very unpleasant. It lasted about a week and a half or whatever, and finally went. And then about a week ago, I stepped outside at nighttime. I stepped directly on top of a centipede, a giant centipede that basically wrapped around my foot and injected me with a massive dose of venom.
What? What?
Just been stung by a scorpion.
Oh, where?
It was like being hit in the foot with a lightning bolt. I mean, it was like electricity going through my leg. My whole leg was just on fire and cramping up, and it wasn't just localized to actually where the bite scene was. It was like my entire leg just lit up. It lasted for about 14 hours, so from 8:38 in the evening until about 10:30 in the morning, where the pain, I think after 10 hours, the pain went from being unbearable to the last 4 hours being sort of bearable enough that I could actually get into bed, and after 14 hours I actually managed to sleep. And then I thought that was it, but it wasn't. For the last week I've been feeling absolutely terrible, like headaches, and I've been feeling like really low, and I had no idea just how low I was until I woke up this morning and was actually for the first time in ages actually feeling all right. So yeah, a really crazy thing to have happened. You know, you think of a centipede and you think, oh well, like the worst part is the pain, but actually the venom itself is a serotonin venom, and serotonin is the thing that you know, is in your system, in your body, that basically gives you pleasure or pain or, you know, happiness, joy. And for the last week I've been like mega depressed. I mean, I was just kind of like stuck, immobile. I wasn't really doing much. But anyway, it's all lifted now. I'm feeling a lot better, thank you very much. And yeah, the sun is shining. What more can you ask for? Wow, Joaquim's been moving ahead. He's done all of this section now. It looks like he's moved onto the bottom field just down there. Things are looking a little bit messy over here this year, unfortunately. Normally before the summer happens, I come through here and I cut all the grass, so this whole olive grove looks pretty good. But unfortunately, my strimmer broke down and I wasn't able to do that, so it's a little bit overgrown. It's nothing too bad. And these are the trees that I pruned, and as you can see, they need quite a bit of work. Normally what you do is you come down here and you grab a branch and you break it off like that. So if you just snap it off and then you get these rough pieces, then you don't get any new growth. Now, when I did the pruning itself, I used clippers, and when you make clean cuts, you get lots of new growth. So unfortunately, a lot of the trees are looking really messy, and we've got tons of new growth happening, and it's not so good. And another thing you get when you do pruning of your olive trees is the next year you won't get that much fruit, as you can see on these. I mean, there's practically nothing on here. But that's not too much of a bad thing because we have tons of olive oil, and the olive harvest is also a massive job. But yeah, now that the weather's getting cooler and there's no more fire bans, it's time to start taking all of these off all of these trees. We've got about 100 trees. And then to bring them down into this clearing over here, we're going to make a big bonfire, burn them all, and obviously it'll tidy these up a bit and make them look a bit better. It's been a crazy couple of weeks with all the pain. I mean, I had more pain in the last couple of weeks than I've had in my entire life, and like next level pain. And it's been like a weird summer as well. It was like really long, really hot, really dry. For the first time, you know, when we moved into the farm, obviously we moved in during COVID lockdown, so for the first 2 years it was just lockdowns and stuff. Only last year for the first time did we start getting guests, like friends and family. And then this year we had loads. We had my sister, we had my dad, we had Gina's nephew Sam. Gina's dad's going to be arriving in the next, I don't know, 8 or 9 weeks or something like that. And it just felt like sort of non-stop. It's been lovely. It's been lovely to see you guys. Please understand that. But also it's kind of got me out of sync and out of rhythm. And then obviously with the, you know, like with the bites and everything, and with, I don't know, just like being depressed over the last week, it's all kind of got a bit much. Now this field is probably our most productive field. As you can see, look at the, look at the color of the soil. Nice chocolatey soil. It's got lots and lots of water in here, even in the summertime, because we've got this well just over here. And this is a low-lying section. This has always got quite a bit of water and is usually in good condition. Let me get that drone up in the air so we can see better what's going on here. Was nice. And Joaquim is finishing up on this big field now, so hopefully it won't take too much longer, and then we're going to move across to this field just on this side over here. Oh, look at these birds over here. These are called egrets, and they are birds that eat ticks off the sheep and stuff. You usually see them riding on top of the sheep's backs, eating all of the ticks off them. But I think what's happening right now is that Joaquim's opened up the soil. They're getting in there and they're munching away on some worms and bugs and things like that. So after the tilling's done, the next stage in a couple of days is going to be to sow some seeds. He's going to put down a mixture of clovers. I'm not sure exactly how many different types. I think last year he said he put something like 8 different types of clovers down. Those are quite important for fixing nitrogen into the soil, or for balancing out the nitrogen levels. And he also puts in different cereals like wheats, oats, things like that. And all of this goes into creating a really nice high quality sheep food, which he bales up and gives to the sheep in the summertime. The only downside is that at this time of year it's really difficult to walk around on the fields. As you can see, it becomes all lumpy and stuff, and it was all really nice and grassy over there. It was a very nice evening dog walk to do, you know. I see Joaquim's actually standing up in his tractor. He's got his phone out. I'm not sure if he was doing some filming there or if he was just checking on messages. Joaquim actually really enjoys the fact that I'm filming when he does all of this farm work, because we're actually getting important bits of history. This is important bits of Portuguese rural history that's happening now. This is old school farming techniques. This is not commercial farming, large scale farming. And I think Joaquim really appreciates that, because he knows the importance of it, because pretty soon there's going to be no more farmers left in this area. All of the farmers are of a much older sort of generation, and you know, a lot of the young people aren't really interested in farming. So I think a lot of this is going to get lost, unfortunately, in the near future. All of this lovely grass actually only grows down here on this bottom field, unfortunately. I mean, it's really lovely stuff. And I think it's because, you know, because we have the well that's just in this direction over here. There's obviously a lot of water just down here. This is a much lower point, like the lowest point of the farm. But I really wish that I could get this stuff to grow around the farmhouse. I mean, obviously in the summertime, it's just so harsh. It's just completely bleached out. But a little bit of rain, a little bit of water, like you can see, it comes back pretty well. So I think one of these years I should try and get some plugs of this and see if I can start planting it in front of the farmhouse. And speaking of some of the old traditional Portuguese things, I actually have some plans to start filming not just farm life, but also I'm going to start to film different things about Portugal, different sort of artisans and people that make things. people that do traditional Portuguese things and also not so traditional Portuguese things. So yeah, if you're interested in that kind of thing, make sure you hit the subscribe button or the notification button so that you know when we put out another video and you can watch one of those. I have some exciting plans for the future. So it's been about 1.5 hours since we finished lunch and started on the other fields. We're pretty much done. We've just got this sort of corner piece to go here, and then we move on to that field there on the side. And I say this every year, but imagine doing all of this by hand. Imagine getting a fork and having to twist up all of this with your hands, and this tractor in a couple of hours just eats through it, no problems. Just the weight of the tractor, the weight of the plow, as it just crunches right through. Look at that, absolutely amazing. Nowadays we just take it for granted that you can go to the supermarket and you can buy pretty much anything you want at any time of the year, that there's sort of commercialized farming where they've got machinery that's made it possible to grow an enormous amount of food. And even though they talk about the fact that there's food shortages, the reality is that supermarkets throw away tons of food every single day because it goes off and it's not even bought. But without the invention of the tractor, a lot of that would not even be possible. And then the flip side of that is, obviously with big industrialized, commercialized farming, there's a lot of damage that actually goes on with the environment, and the fact that they use very large areas, lots of pesticides and things like that to grow food and harm the environment quite badly. So I do love tractors, especially these old ones like this, but it's amazing the effect that it's had, sort of industrializing farming and given us the ability to grow lots of food, and obviously have a really bad flip side of that too. All right, so now we move on to the last part of the farm, and it's this section, this strip that runs along there. And this is probably where I've noticed the most improvement from the tilling that he's been doing since we bought the farm. For the first, 2 years, we were tilling at this time of year, then obviously the growing season happened, and then we were tilling just before the summer. And this part of the farm here, the grass was growing really, really badly. And what we started doing was, what we stopped doing was the till just before the summer, so opening up the soil just before all of that really harsh summer heat. And instead, over the summer, we've just allowed the grass to kind of carry on growing. The grass has obviously, or was cut, and this was cut just before it was baled. So it wasn't a fire hazard or anything, but we kind of left it on the fields. And I've noticed that it's definitely gotten a lot better. This whole area over here, the grass hardly grew. It was like at its shortest, and now it's starting to get taller and taller and taller come the springtime. And in the spring, it's absolutely amazing what these fields look like. I mean, if you've been watching our videos for like a couple of years, you'll know that these fields, like especially in the back over there near where our dam is, some of the grasses and some of the flowers go up to about shoulder height, and they are just full of just the most amazing wildflowers and all the most amazing little creatures like little bugs and spiders and all sorts of insects, butterflies, humming with bees, and it's an absolutely magical time of year. In fact, it's my favorite time of year. We're about to go into my not so favorite time of year, like the cold winter. But I think it's going to be a little bit different this year because we're going to have that air conditioning, and that also does heating. It's actually a heat pump system. So I know heat pumps have got a little bit of a bad reputation in the UK because people are they're trying to replace boilers, the things that they used to make hot water with or do hot water central heating. They're trying to replace those with heat pumps. And I think for that job, they probably don't do so well. But for heating air, they do a pretty good job apparently. And I'm excited to see what that's going to be like in our farmhouse. We were using a wood burner, and you can see by the chimney, it's in the very corner in our living room over here. And unfortunately, because the living room just has a tiny door going to the rest of the house, only this part got warm. The rest of it stayed damp and pretty much cold. So it wasn't very pleasant. And it also cost a fortune because a load of wood when we first arrived in Portugal was around 70 euros. Now it's gone up to about 110, 120 a load. And I think if you want oak, if you don't just want eucalyptus and pine, it goes to about 150 euros a load. So it's gone up a lot. We used to go through between 4 and 6 loads of wood for the 3 months of winter. And, I'd be interested to see just how much this heating is going to cost on that heat pump system. It's A++ rated, so it should be quite efficient. And another bonus is it does dehumidification because the inside of the house gets so damp, like in the winter time, because we've got the dogs running in and they're all wet. And, it just wasn't very, very pleasant. So hopefully now things are going to be a lot better. I don't know if you can see over here, but the chickens, they absolutely love it when the tractor tills up the soil and they go scratching around in there. It's very cute. And other animals that absolutely love it are flies. Whenever the ground gets broken up, we just get like thousands of flies again. And you probably know I complain about flies a lot because we get loads on this farm. Although it hasn't actually been that bad this year. It was bad whenever the soil was tilled. So just before summer when the other fields were tilled, it got really bad again. And then through summer it kind of like died down and then it was almost nothing really. So it's actually been a good year for flies. But I think now I suspect that the ground's all been tilled up. We're going to get a whole bunch more. So here we go. We've got this one last strip over here. Now I was tempted to call it a Brazilian strip, but actually I think it's more of a Portuguese strip. And it looks like he's going to have to do one more pass, come back up this way, and then I reckon we are going to be all finished. Now he started at about 11:30. So that was 1.5 hours, and it's been another 3 hours now. So yeah, so 4.5 hours in total. So not too bad. And that's all thanks to the rain that we've had, because that's definitely helped to soften things up, and it's helped that disc harrow to get into the ground and churn it up quite nicely.
Agora areia, depois mais 3 semanas semente,
Okay. And then,
torna a ser passada, pronto.
sim.
Depois vamos ver o que é que a coisa dá.
Okay, três semanas. Okay.
Sim, mais ou menos.
Sim.
Mais ou-
Okay. Well, muito obrigado.
Yes. Muito trabalho, Joaquim. Muito...
Sim. Muito horas.
Sim.
Ah,
É assim.
okay.
Tudo bem. Vá.
Ciao, Joaquim.
Tchau.
Até logo.
Tudo bem. Até logo.
So in about 3 weeks he's going to come, well, over the next 3 weeks approximately, he's going to plant some seeds, and that's going to obviously be like a mixture of cereals and wildflowers and clovers and things like that. And then we're going to have nice fields full of crop, sort of, I don't know, come springtime. And shame, he's just saying that he's just working just loads. He's just got all of these fields all around here that he's basically working on, you know, because he needs as much grass as possible for his sheep. So he has arrangements with a lot of the farmers, just like I do, or a lot of the people that own the land around here, that he basically comes and grows the grass in there and cuts it down so that he has a lot of grass for his sheep. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. It's been a while since I've done a proper farm life episode, and obviously it's been a couple of weeks since I've been on YouTube. So I hope you've enjoyed it, and well, we'll see you next week same time, unless I get bitten by another centipede. So let's cross our fingers that that doesn't happen. Anyway, we'll see you later. Ciao.